Kirsten, hi. It's so good to talk to you. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in your project for TMCC. For those of you who are watching, my name is Sonya, and I've been a friend of Kirsten Maschenter's for about 30 years. And she has asked me to interview her about her upcoming exhibit at TMCC entitled Xerophytic. Am I saying that correct?
Xerophytic, yes, you are. Hi, S. It's good to be here with you today.
Oh, well, it's good to be here with you.
Yeah, it's
And I'm
kind of
so
nice to
excited.
actually be with you inside because, usually we're outside, like in the front yard or something. So it's nice to be with you in an enclosed space.
And we usually have masks on, and now we don't have to, which is why I wore lipstick. All right. Well, Kirsten, let me start off by asking you what xerophytic means.
Well, so a xerophyte is a plant that needs little water to survive. And so xerophytic is the adjectival form of the word xerophyte.
And we have a lot of xerophytes in the Great Basin and all
We
across
do.
Nevada.
We do. And in fact, pretty much everywhere you look in Nevada, you'll see, once you start looking for xerophytic plants, you will see them absolutely everywhere. And if you come to TMCC and go to the Red Mountain Gallery, you will see them everywhere up on the walls because that's where they're living at the moment.
Very good. Well, why don't we look at one of your pieces and then we'll start talking about it.
Okay.
And again, this is going to be at the Red Mountain Gallery at TMCC, opening on December
4th.
December 4th.
Yes. Can you see the image?
That looks great.
So this one is in the Calico Mountains and the Calico Mountains are a range that butt up to the western side of the Black Rock Desert. So this is just kind of a little bit southwest of where Soldier Meadows is, for those of you who are familiar with the Black Rock area.
How far out did you range in collecting your photographs?
Well, in total, we actually went all over northern Nevada. So we went as far east as almost to Jackpot, which is about where where one of the boundary areas of the Great Basin is. We hit the Toyabis, we hit the Tokemas. I went down towards US Highway 6 and got some images in both the Columbus Salt Marsh and Queen Valley, which is right up against the California border, right down near where the White Mountains are. And then we went up and then I also took a bunch of photographs up in the northwestern area of the state, around in the Granite Range, in the Calico Mountains, and also in and around Soldier Meadows. So I actually did have covered quite a bit of ground for this particular series.
So in addition to being xerophytes, each one, how did you specifically choose your subjects?
Well, I went with what caught my eye, to tell you the truth. And so typically how this process would happen is Ken and Wheeler and I would be out in the Forerunner doing whatever it was that we'd be doing for the weekend, out driving somewhere. And when we would stop to camp, while Ken would set up the tent, I'd take out the camera basically and walk around near where we were to see what was catching my eye. So for example, with this particular image, I took this at about sunrise, and we had camped for the night, and Ken was, in this particular case, making breakfast when I went out with the camera and started walking around looking for plants that I thought were interesting. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment and share another one. So this image was taken in the Clan Alpine Mountains. So this was off Highway 50 on the east side of Fallon. And as before, as the image that we just saw, this one I took in the morning while Ken was making breakfast. So I mean, basically what happens is, Ken sets up the tent stuff, or Ken is dealing with food, and I walk around where we're camped with my camera and see what catches my eye.
Were you able to ID all the plants that you photographed?
I haven't been able to ID any of them because I'm not a botanist. And so if you wanted to know what plants these were, I wouldn't be the person to ask.
Very, very well. That's fair. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to make this work right now.
Well, I love Nevada, and I think that Nevada is very unique in that there is so much public land that is accessible. And, that kind of coupled with, the pandemic and trying to not just socially distance, but really keep as far away from people as I can, Nevada has been great in terms of giving me space to go out and be active, but not be around people. And so it's actually been a real pleasure to go and look at the state from the ground level, because I think that Nevada has a lot of beauty that is often, overlooked when people are driving by. It's like, you're going 80 miles an hour on I-80, and what do you see? You just see like a sea of sagebrush and maybe some mountains off in the distance. And it's not, unless you stop for a moment and really look at what's out there, it's not necessarily a compelling landscape at first glance. And so my hope with this is, to make people look at Nevada maybe just a little bit differently and to see that it's probably not what you think it is.
Well, this is certainly not an image you would see driving by at 80 miles an hour. You definitely have to slow down and stop, and it's a stunning image. Can we look at a few more images?
Yes. Is there anyone in particular you want to see?
No.
Okay.
I'm wondering if that's a buckwheat, by the way.
It could be. Like some of them, yeah, and I haven't really been able to find a book to tell me what they are. I need to get one of those Great Basin
Yeah.
identifiers.
Or a botanist.
Yeah. Or just a person who will write a book with me to do this. All right, so this one is in the Toyabe Range. This was taken on the night of the full moon of October 29th. And this is on the east side of the Toyabe Range, looking over the Big Smoky Mountains. I'm sorry, looking over the Big Smoky Valley and across over to the Toquima Range. So we had camped on, or very close to, like an old mining site. So there was a lot of mining detritus around, a lot of like pieces of metal and, like some concrete that had been broken up. And it was just kind of a not very pretty site, but it was really flat. And it had this great view over the Big Smoky Valley and across to the Toquimas. And the only vegetation in this one particular area were these little grasses, and the moon was just so big and beautiful last night, I'm sorry, it was so big and beautiful that night that it was just a really compelling, I don't know, place to be. And, one of the things that I like about photography is that it allows me to capture, it's not just images, but it's like memories too, right? So like when I look at this, I'm like, oh, right, that was in October and that was the full moon. And, that day we did this hike that we hadn't done before in the Toyabes. And, and even though we had camped near an old mining site, it was still just so beautiful.
Well, anybody who spent any time in Nevada can recognize those little bunch grasses that you see there, but you're often not paused long enough to see them, but they are everywhere. You see rice grasses and, cress grasses and things. So, I love the way that the light is filtering through the grass there. And I have to say, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that'd be an awesome jigsaw puzzle.
Well, what's funny is I thought, because I know that you like to do jigsaw puzzles, and I was actually thinking yesterday, I was like, ooh, I wonder where can I go to get jigsaw puzzles made? Because I bet Sonya would like to have, one of these images made into a 1,000-piece puzzle that she could do. Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about how you got involved in photography, Kirsten. What's your background?
Well, my background is in teaching English as a second language. And so until about 2 years ago, I've spent actually most of the last 20 years living abroad. And most recently I was living in Georgia, working with public school teachers, mentoring and training them and helping them become better teachers. And so, but photography has always been an interest of mine. Like I've always, I mean, even, you know, I don't know, there's just something for me about like capturing an image and showing it to people and helping them see something that, you know, that they might not see otherwise. But photography has always been an interest of mine. And so, you know, I started taking classes at TMCC to try to, you know, up my skill level and get some more experience and, you know, meet some other photographers and try to see if this was something that, you know, I could legitimately pursue. And so now I've pretty much have left teaching behind, and you know, this is kind of the path that I'm going down.
And people can see your work starting December 4th at the TMCC Red Mountain Gallery. And the show runs through what
January
date?
24th.
January 24th. And the hours of the gallery, do you know?
Well,
basically,
so right now, because of COVID restrictions, access to the Red Mountain Gallery is a bit limited, but I do have images up on my website, which is bluemashstudio.com.
Great. Anything else that you want to share about your work with your audience?
Not particularly, although I do, you know, I hope that if, you know, maybe you're watching this and you've never really thought about Nevada being a beautiful place, that you look at some of the images and maybe, you know, the next time you're out in the middle of the desert, stop the car and just take an extra moment and, you know, take a deep breath and look to see what's around you on the ground, because, you know, you might be surprised. You might be surprised. I was.
You might be surprised. That's a good takeaway. I like that. So what's next?
Well, so one of the last projects that I did was photographing gummy bears, because for me, there's something about like, it's kind of like with stained glass, like the way that the light filters through the gummy material. And so I think I want to revisit that. Like, I don't think I finished. I'm not done with gummy bears. And so to tell you the truth, I think gummy bears might be next. But with the Xerophytic, you know, I want to continue on this project because I want to go out. Like, so this particular series of photographs I did August, September, October. And so I want to go out there in the spring too and see what these plants look like, you know, when they're waking up from winter and when it's time for them to kind of renew and, you know, come out for the year. And so I may put this on pause for a little while, but I'm also not done with this.
Well, that would be a great series. I would love to see the 4 seasons or even just 2 seasons. It's compelling work, and I really appreciate you sharing it with us. Is there anything else you want to leave your audience with?
No, but I just want to say thank you so much for doing this with me. It's really nice to kind of just have the opportunity to talk with you. Not even about my work, just to be able to talk to you inside.
I know. It's great. We don't have to wear a jacket or a mask.
Yeah, exactly.